Hi, I'm Dynasty Wright, aka Little Miss Devil, and welcome to the Toon Minds Show, the podcast that takes you inside the wild imaginations of today's top cartoon creators. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at @LittleMissDevil_ for more fun and exclusive content. And now with that out of the way, enjoy the show. Hey, welcome to the 4th episode of Toon Minds, the podcast that takes you inside the wild imaginations of today's top cartoon creators. I'm your super pumped host, Dynasty Wright. You cartoon fans might know me better as Little Miss Devil, cartoonist, writer, and creator behind Indie Krampus series Realm of Dreams. Today's guest is the creator for the upcoming animated series Night Grim, animator Katarina Fink. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you. We're going to jump right into the first question. Let's go way back to young Katarina. What got you into art? What made you pursue a career in animation?
Oh boy. So I was raised in a very artsy kind of a film family, so I've always loved stories and always loved monsters and stuff like that. Ever since I was really little, I started with writing a lot of stories. Just writing. And then around the age of 10, I think, I got into anime and that kind of just exploded my imagination, if you will. And so I started doing AMV editing. Those
wow.
kind of and
yeah, I know those.
yeah. And so so I did a lot of AMV editing, and then I even entered competitions and stuff like that. And around 2014, I was like, I'd really like to edit my own animations. Because there's just visual storytelling is just so beautiful, and animation is amazing. And
it is.
So I started learning animation, and I got into doing 3D animation with Miku Miku Dance and stuff. And that's kind of what started it all.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. And I want to ask you, what got you into what made you choose a dark fantasy theme for your project? What made you go with that?
Oh, I've always loved monsters and kind of a Victorian Gothic vibe. My dad did a lot of monster effects and stuff, and so I
cool.
kind of was raised. Yeah, so I was kind of raised in a monster environment,
Wow.
So I guess I've always loved classic, the Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein's monster,
Definitely,
and stuff like that. Right? So I guess my fascination with that kind of goes way back, So definitely I think that's a root. But also I feel along with that, I feel a lot of those monsters are kind of misunderstood, and I kind of want to tell their story.
That's super neat. I love that. I want to jump into the second question. So, did you have any favorite cartoons growing up? Are there any that inspired you in your work?
Ooh. Oh my gosh, I watched so many. My favorites growing up is Avatar: Last Airbender. That's love that show. I weirdly enough, Transformers Animated, such a good show. I love that show. I would get up in the morning at 6:00 to watch it, every new episode on Cartoon Network. And I also I loved Phineas and Ferb and stuff like that. I really liked.
That's a great show.
Just right, it's so good. Now I know those last two aren't necessarily my inspirations, but I really enjoy them. But I'd say Avatar has a big influence in terms of its really cheerful yet telling dark stories. But also in terms of animated movies, Prince of Egypt is my biggest inspiration. It's beautiful.
That's so cool. I remember that film.
It's so good. Really cool. So good. Yeah, so I'd say those are my main influences in terms of and then it has an animation to it, but there's another inspiration that's a manga called The Gray Man, and I such a good manga.
Heard about that. I heard about it. Yeah. Never watched it though, but I am totally aware of what you're referencing.
Yeah. Don't watch the anime. The manga is better.
Okay, thanks. I'll check it out. So, Night Grim, how did this awesome series get started? Feel free to share details about your project and its beginnings.
Ooh, that is like okay. Get ready. Okay,
I'm ready.
so back in my DeviantArt days of 2013, I was really referencing back to my anime phase. I really wanted to make my own manga, and
Oh, wow.
um, I was 12 at the time too, so but and my some of my favorite stuff or movies at the time was the recent remake of The Wolfman from
Oh,
2010
wow.
and 2004 Van Helsing. So I was like really
Oh,
into the whole
yeah.
werewolf thing, and I was like, I gotta make my own werewolf story. All right, I gotta do it. And so you can even still find really old like concepts from 2013 of Night Grim on my old DeviantArt.
Wow.
They're still up, but so I started like developing it more, and I made these characters, and the main character has gone through so many different versions. But then in like 2014, I was like, this is such a good idea. I'm gonna wait till my art gets better, so I don't like ruin it. uh,
I get that.
right. So I kind of shelved it for a bit, and then like fast forward to like 2019, like the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. I was like, you know what, because I graduated high school, I was like in college, and my art I felt improved a lot more, and I was like, this is like the
Mhm.
perfect time to like get back into it. And so I started developing it more. The first thing I did was like revamp the characters. Like Jack,
Oh,
Llewellyn,
I
and
see. Okay.
Charles are not the same as what they were. They were completely different, but there are still hints, in their design and stuff, but they're a lot more interesting, I'd say. Um, and then also like the plot completely changed. Like it went from a
Wow.
very cliche monster versus monster plot to like a really unique, you know. But there's certain ideas that have like stayed, like the secret monster hunter organization
Oh,
has always been there. It's just I kind of tweaked it to be a lot more interesting and a lot more unique. And that's why we have the Council of Fabel, and
yeah.
just certain other things that are kind of spoilery that I can't say at the moment, but
Oh, I know.
they
I
stay
get
true.
that.
Yeah, you get that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So that's it's kind of been kind of a 10 years in the making type deal, sort of.
Wow.
And it's definitely like a very personal passion project because of it.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. It seems like you've been working on it for a long time and it's looking great so far. I'm really invested in your world and your characters. I love horror and dark themes, so I can't wait to see this when it comes out. I'm really hyped for this.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
Back to the characters. So, can you tell me a bit about Jack, the main character? He seems very interesting. I'd love to learn more about him, and so the
Yeah.
audience can learn about him.
Yeah, sure. He's definitely I really wanted to make a character that was like he's good, but like he's a little bit of an anti-hero, just a little bit. Like he's kind of, I mean, he's a good person, but he's just a little complicated. um
Ah,
but
get that.
he's kind of, yeah. And he's a character that's a very like at first very cold and might be scary to people outside, but he's actually like once you get to know him, he's like the sweetest person you'll ever meet. He's kind of like
Oh,
a gentle giant, if you will.
oh, I
um
love that.
right. So yeah, so that's kind of like Jack's like broad character description. I'd say he's very like independent, and I'd say like on the brink of being a little bit of a rebel. He does not like you try to tell him what to do, he will do the opposite.
Oh,
He does not like being told what to do. And that's kind of like why him and Charles butt heads a lot, because Charles is like, no, you got to do this, and Jack is like, no, you ain't. I ain't doing that. So yeah, and I think with Jack's character, I also wanted to explore. So he lives in like the historical side of it. He lives in the rookery of Victorian England, and it's kind
Oh,
of a
wow.
part of history that no one really talks about. Like whenever we watch 19th century stuff and Victorian stuff, they always kind of like talk about the romanticized, really rich history of it, but no one really likes to
Yeah.
talk about, the rookery and like the more poorer people and stuff. And I thought
Uh,
this would be a really cool opportunity to kind of explore that and how Jack deals with it, especially with his like, he's kind of a gentle soul, but has to deal
yeah.
with the hardened roughness around him. So kind of making a character deal with that kind of environment is also another interesting character study I wanted to explore. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, so that's kind of, Jack's kind of a character. And so in the story, or in the pilot, he kind of has to deal with getting recruited onto this, mysterious monster hunter thing, and he's like, I don't really want to follow your guys' orders, but I guess whatever. you know
Rebel.
yes.
Yeah, I love him so far. Like he just sounds very complex and interesting and well thought out. I can tell he's gonna be an interesting character to watch.
Yeah,
So
I hope so. Especially, and I'm really hoping that a lot of people can like maybe relate with him a little bit too, because
yeah.
he his basis of his character is that he wants to find his identity, because
Oh yeah.
he's an orphan, and or grew up as an
Oh,
orphan, and he wants somewhere he can feel like he can belong, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And
yeah,
so I want
definitely.
to right, so I really want to like explore
Yeah.
that narrative in a very thoughtful way, and hopefully create a character that people can relate to.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. So, who I'm going to ask about next is Luella. Can you please tell us a little bit about her? Because she seems like a fun bookworm type character.
Oh yeah, my girl. I love. Honestly, I wish she was real so we could be best friends in real life. uh, but she is just, so she's Jack's like best friend. They're like,
Oh,
I would say they're soulmates. Like they're just, oh, I love their
oh,
relationship, comfort pair. But Luella is, yeah, she is. She loves adventure. That's why she reads books all the time, because it's kind of her escapism, right? Because in that era, women didn't have the most freedom, right? So
yeah,
she's kind
yeah.
of, she doesn't want to like go against the societal norms, because she was raised in a more upper class family, so she wants to make her family proud.
Hmm.
But at the same time, she's kind of like a bird in a bird cage. She still
Oh,
wants to be free and like have those adventures, and
yeah.
that's kind of why like she's best friends with Jack, because Jack kind of encourages that side of her. But yeah, she loves books. Her favorite genre, though, is scientific romance, which is the old
Oh,
Victorian term for sci-fi. Uh, so
wow.
her favorite book is Jekyll and the Hyde, and yeah, so I think she's definitely like, out of all of them, the most interesting character in terms of her development, because she
Oh,
kind of starts out as a very happy, sweet character, and then but you kind of realize that there's a lot more going on. um I think with her character too, I wanted to portray like a very feminine uh, woman character, but was actually also like cool and like literally holds around a shotgun and hunts monsters. Like, and that you don't have to be a sassy tomboy to be a strong woman.
yeah, I love
Um,
that.
right? Like you can like pink and bows, but still like go out and like hunt down werewolves.
Yeah,
so
I love that. It's great.
yeah, so yeah, she's just a very all around, I think, very interesting character.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I can't wait to see her too, and I can't wait to learn more about her and Jack's relationship. I can tell they have a really strong bond.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna ask also. I want to ask about Victoria. Like, can you tell us about her? I think since she's the leader of the monster organization. If
Yes.
so, can you tell us about her since she seems like a very interesting character
Yeah,
as
sure.
well?
Yeah, she's man, I love her because it's like she's kind of made for the audience to love to dislike kind of a character. Like you understand she's doing her job, but she's doing it so like meanly. She is like, she's very determined, and because of that, she kind of she has her eyes on one goal, and she's going to get to that goal no matter the cost, you know, like she does not care about if she hurts her feelings or whatever, you know. And she might even manipulate a little bit to get what she wants.
Ooh.
Yeah. So she's kind of like the character that, like, you know, she will say something to you that sounds like a compliment, but then you think about it for the next like 10 minutes, you're like, that wasn't a compliment, that was an insult. You know. So that's kind of
Sassy.
her character. Yes, yeah, you know, sassy, and she just kind of like, she sounds really sweet, but in reality she's like, you know, doesn't like you. um and she kind of just sees everyone as, it's so harsh to say, but she kind of sees everyone as tools in a way, you know, like, how can I use
Oh
you
wow.
for to get my goal? And that's kind of like what happens with, you know, with Jack. She's like, all right, how can I use you and your talents to like get this goal, you know? And at the same time, though, I don't want to villainize her, and that's like one thing in my
Yeah.
story, is that someone or a character might be portrayed as an antagonist, but in
Hmm.
reality, you know, it just depends on your view, right? You know,
Yeah.
so no one's a villain, but at the same time, I love to dislike her.
She's giving me major girl boss vibes, so I can't wait to watch her as well.
Yes.
Yeah, she's very intriguing.
Yes.
Thanks for talking about a few of your characters. So we're gonna move on to the next part. Oh, what's the end goal for Night Grim? Do you plan to pitch it to studios or stay independent? Also, do you know how long your show would be season wise?
Yeah. So I definitely want to stay independent. I don't trust studios, especially what's going on lately. um,
Yeah,
right. I think
I
that
get that.
with right, but also with like independent, you like have so much more creative liberty, you know. And I know
Yeah.
for a fact that with going to studios, they're going to try to take out stuff in, like, if I did go to a studio hypothetically, there are so many things in my story that they would want to take out because it's not like
Hmm.
whatever excuse they'd want to make, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's so important to the story though, you know? And
Yeah.
um just, yeah, you have a lot more creative liberty in the way you want to express your characters and your story, and because it is such a personal project, I do not trust anyone putting their little fingers into it. You know.
Totally
um
understandable. I get it.
right. So
Yeah.
that's definitely staying independent, although it's going to take longer, it's going to be totally worth it in the end. And then for like the length, I'm planning 3 seasons. I already have all three
Oh wow.
seasons written out in an outline.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah. So like, all I need to do now is just, you know, write the scripts with my co-script writer and get them animated.
Wow.
So definitely 3 seasons, and then hopefully, once, you know, that's all done with and whatnot, I have some spin-offs I really want to explore.
Oh wow, that's cool. Can you share with the audience, or is it like spoiler, or is there spoilers? Like,
Oh,
can you share
yeah, I can tease a little. One of
a
them
spin-off you have in
is,
mind?
yeah, I have two spin-offs in mind. One of them I actually designed some characters for already, and it would take place in the 1940s during World War II.
Oh wow.
I won't say exactly all the details, but it's a really good idea. um, and then the other one would take place in the 1980s, and it would basically be like kind of making fun of the monster movies that were coming out at that time and being like,
Oh
that's not how it
wow.
works.
Oh wow, that's really cool. Those sound interesting as well.
Yeah.
um, yep, can't wait to learn about those. But the Night Grim is definitely, of course, the main focus right now. So,
Yes.
so about that too. So what was it like getting a voice cast for your project? Because I love the voice work on it that you've teased so far.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Man, I feel so blessed to like have the voice cast I have, honestly. Like, I got so lucky with everyone. They're so talented. It all kind
Definitely.
of started in I think June of 2022, and I put out a casting call because
Oh,
only for Luella and Jack, though. Only those two characters, because I wanted to, even though I didn't have the pilot script yet, I wanted to start doing kind of promotional stuff like comic dubs and stuff like that.
yeah, I get
So
that.
right, so I got those in, and man, I was so surprised at how many people sent in auditions. I was like, oh my
Wow.
gosh, I felt so bad turning, you know, people away when I finally chose,
Yeah.
you know. So, but
I
hopefully,
get
hopefully
that.
they'll audition again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Right. But yeah, so I ended up casting Elk Stare as Jack and then Caitlin Rowe as Luella Salo. And man, they have been such an awesome like pair. Like they work so well together as those characters. They literally are those characters. I think we found out they're literally the same like star sign as the characters or something like that.
Wow, really?
Yeah. like they're meant for the role. And yeah, and they're just really passionate about it. And I ended up hiring Caitlin Rowe also as my co-script writer in November.
Oh, wow.
um so she also plays Luella and co-script writes. And so when her and I finished the pilot script, we started that in November of 2022, and then we finished it
Wow.
in 2023 of February. We I then put out another casting call for the rest of the cast, so Victoria and Charles. And once again, it's like amazing amount of auditions. This time though
Wow.
was a little different because I particularly wanted Manaswana talent for Victoria because I just I'm a true believer in like diversity in casting and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so it was really interesting kind of that experiencing that part of casting and making sure that the people auditioning did fit that. And
Yeah,
so
I
in
get
the
that.
end, I cast Sean Mendham as Charles and Heidi Tabing as Victoria. So
Oh,
once
wow.
again, amazing talent, and I'm so lucky. And so from there we recorded the pilot, and hopefully this year, I'll put out another casting call for episode 2 because we have it written, so why not record it?
Yeah. That's great. I can't wait to hear the other characters as well, like the characters that you haven't teased yet on your channel. Yeah, but everything's sounding great so far. I love the voice work. Like it's amazing. And I want to say
Thank
this.
you.
I love the opening sequence is so beautifully done.
Oh,
I love it.
thank you.
Like the Night Grim opening is one of the best openings I've seen in a long time. I love it. Like
Oh
just
my
well
gosh.
animated, the music, beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem. Oh, and when I want to ask about too, so what's the animation process like for your project? Like, do you have a team of animators? Like, are you doing a lot of it yourself? Like, what is that like for your for Night Grim?
I actually am the sole animator of everything at the
Oh,
moment.
wow.
Yeah, so I really want to get more people on, but I think that I'd like to do the pilot myself first, and then hire a team of animators
Yeah.
after the pilot, just because I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's a good idea to just do it myself first to show like look at the quality that you can accomplish or I can accomplish just by myself, and now imagine it with a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's partly why, but also partly I have an indie budget and I'm also a full-time student, so it's.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I find that the main thing that slows me down with the animation is the backgrounds. I find myself working
Oh.
more on the backgrounds than the actual like animation. Like I feel like if I
Wow.
didn't have to do any of the backgrounds, it'd be almost done by now.
Wow. Wow.
But it's also because
Wow.
I want to make sure they have that kind of watercolor kind of quality look to them so that
Yeah.
it's quality and doesn't feel rushed. Um,
Yeah.
but once the background's done, oh man, I'm like zip 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 zip. I animate. So yeah, so I at the moment I have like 5 scenes animated out of 16, and I'm working on
Wow.
scene 5, and I have a little bit of cleanup done on scene 8. So there's a lot of work in
Wow.
progresses going on.
Wow, that's cool. It's amazing how you're doing it most of it yourself, like pretty much the animation
Yeah.
yourself. It looks great. Like I assumed it was a team behind it, like a whole
Oh my
team.
god.
So that's really impressive. You should be proud. Like
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, thank you.
no, you're
I'm
welcome.
definitely
No
learning
problem.
so much. It's like been a really big learning experience. Like I use a lot of like Adobe After Effects for all the compositing, and oh my gosh, like from last year to now, I feel like I'm a master at it because I've
Wow.
learned so much just doing the pilot. Um So yeah, it's just been a really great learning experience, and I can't wait to see what else I learn going forward.
Wow, yeah, that's really really cool. I love that. So, and what I want to ask about too, what's your opinion on the current like indie animation boom? Like, what's your opinion on that? Like, seeing all these like shows come out without like this, without big studios
Mhm.
backing it. Like, what's your thought on that?
I love it, honestly. Like this kind of
Yeah,
renaissance of indie animation. And I feel like in a way it's like going back to the origins of animation and what made those
yeah,
studios so big. Like everything was indie in the beginning, you know? You go back to
yeah,
like the 1920s of like Rubber Rose and all that. All of it was basically
yeah,
indie. And I think that's so what's cool about it is that we're kind of recapturing that passion for animation. It's no longer
yes,
just about, well, we got to make this to make money. It's more so about we
yeah,
gotta make money to make this, and so I think that it's beautiful, it's awesome, and I'm so happy to be part of it in this time right now, and this community is so sweet and everyone's supporting each
it
other.
is.
um
Yeah.
so yeah, and your show, by the way, is amazing. It looks amazing. I'm so excited for it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I'm still like developing it, so I'm still like deciding on what story I want to tell with this. But I got like, it's like kind of like building a house. I have the base done so far, but I'm still building up on what I want to do with the characters and the roles I want them to have. But thank you so much. I'm just happy with you that you like Realm of Dreams so far, because this is just the
Oh
beginning
yeah.
with it. I am nowhere near as far as you are with your project. But I'm learning a lot just from you today, so I'm really inspired. Like,
Oh my gosh. Oh, that means so much. Yeah, I always feel inspired just seeing other creators just passionate for their projects too. It's like, wow, we're all in
yeah,
this together.
yes. And like you said, like that the community is so supportive. Like I agree. Like I remember years ago, I was kind of like nervous to start sharing my stuff online, but I was like really surprised to see how well received my work was and how people want to see this come to life. So it really is cool to see that people are supporting these projects coming out. Like,
Yeah, and I think too with like how things are kind of going downhill in the main industry. I think because of
yeah,
that, people are going to start realizing, oh well, look at all these other cool indie shows that are being developed. I should
yeah,
support those instead of like
yeah,
watching this horrible company's product.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I think slowly but surely people are gonna like start shifting towards indie for entertainment and hopefully wanting to support it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So when it comes to Night Grim, what made you choose that title? Like, why
Hmm.
Night Grim? Because I love the title. So what made you choose it?
That's a really interesting question because I sometimes ask that myself. I'm like, where did that even come from? All I remember is that I was in the car one day, little 13-year-old me. I was in the car one day, and I think we were driving by a like, I don't know, a cemetery or something. And it dawned on me. I was
Wow.
like, Night Grim. I don't know. It just kind of I always liked the Grimm fairy tales, I suppose. So that probably like I knew Grimm had to be in there, and also I guess night because monsters and stuff. I know that originally it was actually called Moonlit, like a long, long time ago. It was called Moonlit,
Wow.
and right, and I'm like, that's not very catchy. So I think that's why I was rethinking names, and I came upon that. I wish I had a more interesting story. But it just kind of came to me one day. But yeah, and it kind of just stuck.
Wow, wow. It's crazy how like how simple it can be sometimes. Like, but yeah, for as simple as it how it happened, I mean, I just think the title really works for the project. It's very memorable. Like I remember from the first time I've seen your project floating around like a year ago, I always remembered the name of it. So, good job with that.
Yes. Mission accomplished.
Yes. So, and I want to ask this. I'm sure a lot of young artists will be watching. Do you have any words of advice for any aspiring showrunners on how to manage an animated project?
Ooh, I got lots, but I'll try to focus on like two. I think one thing some of the most important things to keep in mind is scheduling and planning and outlining. Like, man, I would not be, I don't know where I'd like be right now if I didn't have roadmaps, if I didn't have outlines and goals laid out for me. It would just be a mess, you know. But and on top of that, when you do make outlines and goals for yourself, you want to make sure that they're reasonable goals. You know, you don't want to be like finish the entire series by the end of this year, like, you know,
Yeah, nah.
because you,
Too
right,
overwhelming.
because
Yeah.
exactly. And when you don't reach that goal, you're just going to be uninspired because you're like, "Oh, man, I didn't make
Yeah.
that goal. So maybe I shouldn't even
Yeah.
try."
Yeah.
You know, so it's okay to
Yeah.
adjust your schedule. I do that all the time. But like
Same.
for instance, my goal right now is just, you know, premiere the pilot this year. Originally, it was premiere the pilot in June, but because I'm working on my thesis for school and stuff, obviously
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, you know, not do that in June, but it's definitely premiering this year, right? So anytime this year, right? So that's kind of like I adjusted it a little bit, but still this year. So it's still trying to like, yeah. So definitely planning, you know, and outlining your, you know, road mapping, everything. I'd also say that another really important thing to keep in mind is don't be afraid to ask for help. And that is like something I still
Yeah.
struggle with. But there comes a point where you realize you can't do everything on your
Yeah,
project,
you can't. You can't.
right?
It's a
And,
team
you know,
effort.
exactly, especially if you want quality, you know, and I
Yes.
wanted quality.
Yes.
Yeah, so in that way, when you do work with other people, you start building relationships and you start like
Yeah.
having fun doing your thing, and like other
Yeah.
people are having fun creating your passion project. It's just an
Yeah.
overall great feeling, you know?
It
So
is.
definitely don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay to ask for help. You can't do everything yourself, because these projects take time. And I feel like when people try to, take on this stuff by themselves, you end up getting burnout too, because that can happen to you as
Mhm.
well. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I would not be
Yes.
where I am right now without the help of like my co-script writer Kate, and also my art director and cinematographer Thomas Scott. Like they have helped me so much in just developing the visual style and also the, of course, the actual script writing and story. So it's just, you know, because like with the script, I was like, you know, I write stories, but I'm not very good at actually writing scenes and dialogue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I realized I needed that help. So I was like, hey,
Yeah.
Kate, wanna help me out with some co-script writing? So, and you know, she's been a co-script writer ever since, and it's really worked out. And she really cares about understanding these characters and kind of picking my brain. And she's kind of my translator. I like babble a lot. I'm like, oh well, this and this. She's like, so you mean this? I'm like, yeah, you know. So it's really good to also have a second opinion.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. So, oh, all right. And last but not least, time for the Toon Minds This or That segment. So, Katarina, I'm going to list 5 pairs of cartoons, and you have to choose one cartoon per pair. Pretty much the one you prefer out of the two.
All right.
Okay. So, one, Hey Arnold or Rugrats?
Ooh. Mm, I watched very little of both when I was little. So, but I remember, I think Rugrats a lot more. So I'd say Rugrats.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Yeah, me too. I remember more of that show for some reason. Like, Hey Arnold, I remember like glimpses of, but I didn't
Right?
watch too much of it. Two, American Dad or Family Guy?
Ooh. I will be honest. I grew up more on The Simpsons, but if
Wow.
out of those two, I'd say Family Guy.
Okay, totally understandable. Totally understandable. All right. And three, The Powerpuff Girls or The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy?
Oh man, you can't make me choose. uh, I loved both. I'd say though, I quote Powerpuff Girls a lot more. So I'm gonna probably say Powerpuff Girls. I say like sugar and spice and everything nice like all the time. So
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Who is your favorite Powerpuff Girl, by the way?
Oh my gosh. That's hard. I feel like my favorite was the main one. I forgot their names at the moment. The main
Blossom.
one.
Blossom was
Yes.
the pink one.
Yes. But
And
I think I related more with Bubbles. I think that was her name.
yeah, the blonde one. Yep,
Yeah,
blue. She was like the sensitive crybaby. I'm pretty sensitive sometimes.
right. I feel that. Although the dad, honestly, dad goals. He is like the best cartoon dad.
He is. He is like single father, just managing the whole household, and then on top of it, a scientist. Like I think,
Yeah,
I really think he is one of the best cartoon dads. Professor Utonium. For yeah, I think that's his name.
that's it. Yeah, he's honestly best out of the ward goes to him.
Yeah, he is. He is. Yes. Oh, so 4, Jimmy Neutron or Fairly Odd Parents?
Ooh. Um I really liked Fairly Odd Parents, but I'd say Jimmy Neutron because I was very religious about watching Jimmy Neutron. I even owned the movie on DVD. I forgot what it's called, but it's about how like the parents are suddenly not in the town or anything, and they have to get their parents back by aliens or
I remember
something
that.
like
I
that.
remember that. Oh my god, it's been years since I've
Yeah.
seen that.
And oh, I would watch that. So I think I got it at like a Ross for like $3 or something, and I loved that movie. But yeah, I also just really liked the little robot dog, and it
Oh
was just a really fun
yeah,
show.
he's so cute. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great show. And last one, Adventure Time or regular show?
Ooh. Funnily enough, I actually cosplayed Adventure Time, but I never actually watched it.
Wow.
So I'm gonna say regular show because I love the regular show a lot.
Yeah, me too. It's really funny. Do you like Rigby or Mordecai more? Who would you like
Oh
choose out
man.
of the two leads?
Probably Rigby, maybe? I think so.
Same. He's like a little like gremlin to me. I just like love like small guys with such like big energy. I love characters like that.
Right? As a short person, I relate, you know?
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you for coming on to the 4th episode of my show, Katarina. Do you have any socials where viewers can reach you?
Yeah, so on Twitter, I'm just Kitty K Studios. On YouTube, basically same name, Kitty K Studios. I do have an Instagram. I never use it though, but it's Kitty K Studios. Same with Tumblr, Kitty K Studios. And I do have a Patreon, and that one is the Nightgrim Patreon. If you just type in Nightgrim Patreon, it should pop up. If you want to check out my portfolio, it's kittykstudios.card.co. If you want to learn more about Nightgrim, it's nightgrim.com. We have a domain name. And
Great
I think
website,
that's
by the
about.
way. I've seen it.
Thank you. I'm so happy. But yeah, I think that's all the socials.
Well, Katarina Fink, everyone. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay tune-minded. Like, comment, share, and subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for future Toon Minds episodes. Bye.